A lot of successful entrepreneurs or startup founders started as a programmer with a desire to build and bring a product they are making on their own to solve a specific problem. CEO of big companies such as Facebook, Twitter, or Quora all started with a technical co-founder or founder. And there are clearly some undeniable advantages to that, but also bring along some not really obvious drawbacks. I am myself a solo technical founder and have been building my location-based language exchange app for the past 5 years, so 4 years part-time and 1 year full-time. So first, let's see some of the benefits of being a technical founder. So the first and obvious benefit to being technical founder is that you can build things by yourself and really quickly. So you don't need money to pour into outsourcing the development of the product, and you will find out that you can build new features within hours instead of weeks or days, and fixing bugs within minutes instead of days. Later on, you can still outsource the development of your product since you already know how to build and also iterate on the product, and investing your own time won't be as effective as paying someone to do so or hire a team of engineers behind it. Obviously, the time it takes from having an idea to execution and get to the next release is much faster. Sometimes a feature can just be a rough and ambiguous concept that can be hard to translate into detailed technical requirements. So by just iterating quickly yourself on the concept and pushing the idea into concrete features, it can come to life without losing its essence. You will also get to know the feasibility and difficulty to implement that feature, and can also better estimate how long it will take and implement it. Since your app will need to quickly iterate in order to validate or invalidate some hypothesis of the product, you can assess which features are easy to add or deprecate, given that you have the technical context on how things are interconnected together. You will have a better opinion on building decoupled or loosely coupled components that can be more reusable and more independent, so that you can improve the overall extensibility and development speed. The second benefit is that learning how to design will become much more easier. As a programmer, you will find out that sometimes using a screen with a list of items you can choose from is much more easier to implement than having to implement something like a drop-down menu without hurting the user experience. You will have to make this kind of small decision hundreds or thousands of times, and doing it in a way to avoid piling up future technical debt is crucial. These little UI UX things all put together can wait when you take a decision to design something. So for example, if you already know how to write CSS, designing with tools like Figma will become much easier. Moreover, the ability to make use of reusable components, both from a developer but also a designer point of view, will help you find a faster process to build a product and work with more consistent look and feel. For example, I pick up and learn Figma quicker than I thought. Making Figma reusable and composable components with the mindset of a programmer also helps a lot. Sometimes designers can produce crazy stuff design, including like animations, gradient colors, fancy typography, and so on. And that might not be realistic to implement as a developer. So building a product, everything is a moving part that relies on each other, so you will have time and resource constraint as well. Another benefit is that you become a better product manager. So programming itself is clearly a marketable skill in the job market. So in the case where you don't succeed in your entrepreneur or startup journey, or decided to go back to the corporate world for whatever reasons, then programming is still a really rewarding skill to sell. Some decisions you will make regarding the development of your product will be based on your development experience, and you'll know what takes time and are difficult to implement. What is worth implementing given the milestone or the time frame that you gave to yourself. Also, for a limited time and budget, a tech-savvy founder can go further than a non-technical one. To illustrate a bit more this argument, let me just share with you a quick anecdote. So the other day, I got an email directly from Google Japan asking if I'd be interested for a product manager position in Tokyo. And the position was for the Google Maps user-generated content in the team in Tokyo. And given my experience building my app SewaYou, which is a location-based language exchange app, I might be a good fit for that position. So just to say that the best way to get a good job is to found a startup. Another benefit is that your startup will be more likely more attractive to investors. Technical founders are often more attractive to investors since they can demonstrate a deep understanding of the product and its technical requirements. This can give investors more confidence in the founder ability to execute and increase the likelihood to get funding. Early stage investors are looking for people who can build since they have little evidence that you'd be successful. So can you iterate between different drafts of the product? And it's actually much more expensive and time consuming to hire like a dev shop and outsource developers than building yourself the product with co-founders who are technical. Michael Seibel from YC also has been a vocal advocate of technical founders and their importance in building successful startups. In his role at YC, he has worked with hundreds of startups and has observed firsthand the value of technical founders and what they can bring to the table. One of his key opinions is that technical founders just have a deeper understanding of the product and its technical requirements, which give them an advantage when building and growing a startup. He mentioned that technical founders can quickly diagnose problems, issues, but also make better decisions and know when to pivot. He even encourages non-technical founders to learn technical skills like the basic of coding to just better communicate with their teams. So now let's go through some of the not really obvious drawbacks of being a technical founder. So the first one is your tendency of focusing too much on the product. I'm myself a technical founder, so I'm a programmer, software engineer, so sometimes I just want to dive inside my code editor to implement like tens of features that might not be useful and won't be used by real users at all, but just for the sake of implementing them because it's just so fun. You tend to think that sales or marketing suck, or even sometimes look down on those areas, and you even think that you better outsource and spend more time building and coding new features, but you realize eventually that these areas are actually the ones that will bring you the most results in terms of growth, given that you have a good enough product for people to use. But sometimes you need to hear the hard truth, which is that investors or potential business partner, what they're looking at are numbers and growth. So you can build the best product out there, but if you don't care about how to distribute that product to reach more people and users, then the impact of your product will be really limited. So having hundreds of underused features is not as impactful as having just a few that work really well and have been used and validated by a growing user base. So it's important to observe and understand users' behaviors and understand what's worth coding, and also spend time on how to find more users for your product. Another drawback is that you think that some features are obvious to use. By having the technical background, you kind of like overestimate your users' literacy regarding the use of your mobile or web app. You tend to think like, how comes they don't notice this big call to action button that takes like half of the screen? That's why it's so important to test the product with real users and asking questions, observing their interaction with your app, and check the usability. With the real user results, you can have the chance to evaluate if the current design and features are easy to use and understand, and improve on things that are either missing or hard to understand. And that requires some empathy toward your users and willingness to understand them from a non-technical point of view. You might also have limited and narrow perspective because technical founders may have this narrow perspective on users' behavior and expectation. So that can result in a product that is not really user-friendly and does not meet the needs of the market. So another drawback is that it becomes really hard to delegate the technical part of building a product. In the future, having to completely detach yourself from the baby you've built for years to someone else must be really hard. So the best thing to do might be to have one foot in the product building process for like crucial and important features, and you might want to delegate stuff you already know and have done ever and ever again, like building a notification form or some basic features. and another foot in the management role. It's also important to remember that someone who is not as familiar and as invested in your project is not going to have the same passion as you do. And it's important for you to take the time to explain the vision and mission and the most important core features of the product. A good way to ensure that your delegate understands the project is to set clear goals and expectations, as this will help them focus and work efficiently. Encouraging feedback and open communication along the way can also be really helpful in making sure the project progresses smoothly. At the same time, it's important for you to reserve the time to stay up to date with the latest technology and trends in your field, because this way you can better understand and appreciate the task your delegate is doing and be able to provide meaningful feedback where needed. Being able to properly delegate tasks is an important skill to have at the latest stage of your startup, and there are many benefits that come with it. For now, I'm still at the product building phase and not yet the company building phase, so I'll take my own advice, and at the later stage when delegating technical tasks becomes possible, then I will take another view on this video and apply what I'm saying. So the last drawback is that you tend to prioritize technically challenging features above actual users' needs. You tend not to pay much attention to what features actually users really want and will make their life easier. And instead, you tend to be more attracted to the idea of building some fancy features that will challenge your skills as a programmer. Some features that your actual users need might require some tedious and boring works from your developer point of view. But the opposite of this is also true. So some features or features tweaks that make your user's experience better might be exponentially difficult to implement from a technical point of view. So your bias toward avoiding to build this might also occur. Sometimes your users might have simple but yet extremely technically difficult requirements, and you tend to ignore it because of the technical complexity it can bring. So your technical bias might derail you from what your users actually want and need. Eventually, your product will not have as much successful adoption rate as you might expect because of all the technical shortcuts that you might have taken along the way. Users don't care about the behind-the-scene complexity of a technical feature. They just need what they want. So you need to understand what users need and what they will use, and then build the product around those needs, while still balancing between your technical but also non-technical mindset and point of view. So focus on usability, functionality, but also the design and ease of use of your product. Work hard on making the product intuitive and easy to use. It's crucial for your apps to be successful. And refining and streamlining the user experience should be the ultimate goal of any product. And for that, you need to put aside your developer or programmer ego and pride. Because at the end of the day, building a product is not just about putting together technical features and challenges, but also understanding human psychology and finding the right balance between ease of use and realistic technical implementation. So that's it, some lesson I've learned being a technical founder for my own startup. And they are clearly not only just advantages being a technical founder, but also some major and not really obvious drawbacks. However, overall, it can help you become a really powerful entrepreneur or founder, as you might be able to quickly iterate on the product and build things really quick. I also share some tips on how I stay organized as a solo technical founder on this video, so if you're interested, please check it out. And follow me on Twitter for bite-sized stories, and follow my journey building the startup in real time. So see you in the next one. Bye.